Hello, this is Aaron Marsters, and I am here today to talk about Clicker 7 sentence sets. And I'm with Nara Hayes, the awesome assistive technology teacher leader for DoDEA, and we are going to be having a discussion and Q&A, walking through some how-to strategies to use the program, along with some lessons learned along the way, practical advice for implementing with an individual student, all the way up to whole class instruction. So how are you doing today, Nara?
I'm doing great. I'm super excited to talk about sentence sets.
Me too. So first of all, we brainstormed what is it we want to write about, or what do we want to have kids to write about, and this led us back to the standards. So on the DoDEA webpage, looking at the ELA standards, we pulled up the kindergarten, grade 1, and grade 2 standards for just basic writing, and so some of them are having an opinion piece for kindergarten where they need to be able to draw, talk, and write, and we thought this might be a real nice way to start out and show some of our favorite features of the sentence sets within Clicker 7. So we're within Clicker 7 now on the home screen, and we're going to choose Make a Clicker Set, and we're going to explore this sentence set. Now, Nara, I have a question. Is a sentence set something I use with an individual student, a small group, whole group? What does this look like?
I think that's the beauty of Clicker 7 is that you can use sentence sets with an individual student and you can get 4 to 6 sentences or even more from them and have them working on their own laptop or computer and completing a writing assignment, or you could do this as a whole group activity on the fly where you're getting sentences from individual students in your class and then you're doing this as a whole group activity. It also works for that in between, which is those small group settings.
Let's go ahead and model what it might look like for a whole group. So I'm doing a shared writing assignment with the class that we might do together on the smartboard, and then I have the choice later on that they open up their individual computers to extend that writing. So I'm going to go ahead and click on a sentence set, and we're thinking about kindergarten here, that opinion piece where we're going to draw, talk, and write. What is something that kindergartners might write about?
Their favorite books.
Favorite books. We all have strong opinions about our favorite books. So I might help the students at first or ask them to tell me. So I'm on this screen. This isn't what the students are using. And I'm having a discussion with my class or my small group or my individual student. I'm saying, what are your favorite books? They might say, what's a good favorite book for kindergarten?
Why don't we go with No David?
No David.
And I think one of the beauties in Clicker 7 is that if you use a left parentheses at the beginning of the title and a right parentheses at the end of the title, then that title will go into one cell.
So it kind of chunks it up then.
Exactly.
Okay, so I could stop there, or if I have other kids in the class raising their hand that they want to talk about their favorite book, then they could maybe say, I like to read If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. And then using that strategy that Nara just talked about, if I put those parentheses around that title, it's going to then chunk that into one cell. And so we could keep going. Each student could talk about list their favorite book. Maybe they have to give one supporting detail, why they like it. That could be another sentence. So we can make this as big or as little as we want. And now we're going to hit that Create button. Now I will recommend that during this time within this template, try to get all your sentences here, because it's real easy in this format to list them all here and then have it automatically create these grids. We can go back later and edit, but this is one of the easiest ways to do this. Create, and boom. There is sentence 1, all nice and scrambled. And there is sentence 2, all nice and scrambled. So am I finished now, Nara?
No, there are a lot of incredible things that we can do to add and individualize.
Okay.
So if you wanted to start with drawing, we could go up to the ribbon at the top and click on the picture icon, and you have the option to browse pictures that are on the computer. You could paint if a student wants to draw something, or you could take a photo. And since we just talked about drawing, why don't we go to the paint option?
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and choose paint right now. And this opens up kind of the default paint viewer within Clicker 7. And I can use this on a smartboard. I can use it on a touch screen. I can also do mouse control. I have I can insert a picture through here. I can paint. There's different stickers. So just a lot of fun options for students. I am going to use my mouse here to draw my happy No David. All right, I want to insert that now. And there is my image within my document. And then I have my clicker set down here. Now, Nara, you mentioned, so we talked about painting. I really like an idea that you shared earlier about the photos. Can you share that with our audience?
Yes, if you click on the photo icon, then you can use the integrated webcam to maybe take a picture of the student holding their favorite book, or maybe just a picture of the cover of the book. And then you can insert that into the document. Hey, Aaron.
So I choose take a photo and insert. I'm going to hit cancel for right now. I don't want to be No David. So we can insert that. And I really like that idea of getting the student's picture in there with the book or some of their favorite pictures, and really using that integrated web camera that are in most of our laptops now. And then we have one other option, which is we can browse. And Clicker 7 comes with a default set of pictures called these Crick Pics. And so I can search for a boy, and I can insert a boy here. Or if I don't like these images, I do have the potential to go to the internet or go to Symbol Sticks or someplace else and download an image that way. Make sure you save that image as a JPEG or a PNG file. I'm going to go ahead and search on the desktop for some of the images, and I have a picture here of No David, and I can insert that into my document. Am I finished now, Nara?
No, but before we move on to the talk portion, you could also edit your sentence set and add either a drawing, a picture symbol, or a photo right into your sentence set page.
So those same features that we just talked about, putting them into the document, we can do the same thing and put them into our sentence set to give it a little bit more of a visual pop and to cue that picture with the text. I can also change the background color. I can choose how the words are scrambled. I can put an alphabetical, random, sentence order, guided order. And what that means is then I have to select each word in the correct order. So this would be for a student that needs maximal support. So I'm going to choose random right now. And then I also have my models up here. So I can choose how I want that sentence modeled to that student. Do they have an exact model at the top? Is it in a pop-up so they choose to open it? Or is it spoken where they select a little speaker button and it's read aloud? And so they then have to find put the words in the correct order based off of that spoken verbal prompt. All right, so we've talked a little bit about the modeling, the word order. Remember that guided order for the students that need the most prompting. Color, pictures, and now we're going to go back to our clicker set by selecting down at the bottom.
So Aaron, I think we showed a lot of different ways to add visuals to the sentence sets. I think could we talk next about how students could add their talk into the sentence set or add their verbal?
So students can actually talk within Clicker 7. That is an awesome feature. If you look at the very top, we have the record voice note option. If you select that and hit record, my favorite book is No David. Stop. I can listen to it right now to make sure it's what I want. If I don't like it, I can re-record it. If I'm happy with it, I select done. And you'll see this little text box over on the left-hand side. And if I left-click on that, my favorite book is No David. It reads aloud. And if I want to get rid of that, I can right-click on it, and I can delete it, or I can re-record it. Now, sometimes we use this for the students, and a lot of times we use it for the students to record their voices so that they can talk about their favorite book, get their ideas out first verbally, and then they have something to listen to again if they forget what they were trying to write about or if it's a multi-day project. Another neat way that I've seen some teachers use it is they provide the directions to the assignment in these voice notes, and so the student can then listen to them over again if they have any questions. What about you, Nara? What have you seen with the voice notes?
Um, I've seen that for some students, the voice notes work best if you help organize the students and help them think about what they're going to say before, and maybe even practice saying it out loud once before you record it. I've also found that it's a nice way once the student's written their sentence. My favorite book is No David, to jump off. Tell me your favorite part of the book, and then they could use the voice note to tell you more.
That's great. Uh,
I think for some students, sorry to interrupt,
yeah,
Aaron, some students love to add voice notes, so maybe you need to have a caveat like you need to write your sentence before you add another voice note or voice memo.
that's terrific. And I do find that I have some students with processing difficulties that really benefit from being able to reference what they thought of first, because they're spending so much time now thinking about the spelling of the words and the writing of the words, typing the words, that they lose the sentence that was originally in their head. So this is a great way for them to keep that in their memory banks so that they can continue writing. I've worked in another class where peers would then go on and read student work, and they would leave positive feedback within the voice notes. So there's a lot of creative ways that you can use these voice notes to support directions, student ideas, and even basic feedback for the students. So we're having so much fun. We've talked about putting audio in, putting the visuals, and we've talked about how to set up this template down below for the writing, but we actually haven't shown that yet. So the first thing I want to remind everybody is if a student is struggling with reading any of the words, they can right-click on it, and it will read it aloud. I can also use my blue button over here to simulate a right-click button if that's too difficult. And so I'm going to go ahead and choose my favorite book is No David, exclamation mark.
My favorite book is No David.
And it reads it aloud. Now, Nara, one question that comes up sometimes is, what if I want to add a different word, or I want to extend that sentence? Am I stuck with the words that are in the bank, or do I have other options?
You have other options, and I think flexibility is one of the best features of this program. On the right-hand side, there's a green keyboard icon, and if you click on that, you can move between the No David sentence set and the keyboard.
Oh, so I have an on-screen keyboard, terrific for using on the smartboard or with a touch screen, or I can use my mouse. And if I do want to get rid of this, I can...
You can click on it again or use the hide button on the right.
Yep, I can hide that button if I want to reduce the visuals. But I want to point out that this is still an active document that I can type directly within this document, or I can use my sentence sets, but I have the flexibility to manually put in new words. I can work on my punctuation, put in my quotations. I still have access to speaking the text, so to read it aloud. I have word prediction for some of our older students who are working on some spelling. And of course I have my voice notes that we've talked about in the pictures. If I want to toggle to that next sentence that my other student wrote, I click on this next button, and you see that here I am with this scrambled sentence. Now, say I have that student that needs more support. I'm going to show an on-grid model, and I'm going to make it guided order. I'm going to go back, and you'll notice the only button I can choose right now is I. Like, and as much as I want to say I like if you give a mouse a cookie, I can't select that. I have to use to, read, if you give a mouse a cookie, punctuation.
I like to read if you give a mouse a cookie.
Nara, do you use these different prompting methods and supports with different students often, or do you typically just give a one-size-fits-all?
I like that you can really quickly individualize as you're in the midst of writing. So maybe you're going to have a student start without any prompts, but maybe as they write a few sentences, they start to fatigue, then you could add that prompt in. Or maybe you're doing a whole group activity and different students need different levels of prompting, you can individualize different pages within your sentence set with different prompts.
Okay. Now I get to this point where I have my two students, they said these wonderful sentences, but all of a sudden a third student jumps in, or they decide they want to add some more sentences. How do I add more sentences to this sentence set? Should I go back and redo the template, or can I go in and edit this?
You can go in and edit. At the bottom left of your screen is an edit clicker set button, and one of the things that I think's great about Clicker 7 is that you can very quickly edit what you're working on and not lose students because you can be that quick. So you could go to the left side of your page where you see the different sentence pages, and you could either add a new page or you could copy a page.
Okay. So
you can also, I believe, Aaron, right click on the specific pages and it gives you options.
Okay, let's try that. Oh, there we go. Add or duplicate. So because I like that picture of David, I'm going to go duplicate. And I'm going to change this sentence now. He is very funny when he gets in trouble. Again, I can choose a different level of modeling and prompting. I'm going to change that color. All right. And so if I go out of that now,
Are you there? Are you there?
I have my first sentence, and now I have my supporting detail. So
Are you there?
I have my visual support of the pop-up,
Are you there?
so that the sentence set really gives me the ability to have that basic sentence. And if I need to add anything on the fly, by going to that edit clicker set,
Are you there?
I can adjust the different settings and add more sentences as needed. Nara, are you doing anything else when you're working with students or teachers on this? Any other features for the sentence set that you feel are helpful?
I like that when you're out of edit clicker set and you're back working within the program, if you double click on the sound shift button, which is the blue microphone button, if you click on it twice, then it will read all of the words in this sentence set. And then you have to go up to click out of it, or it will even read the icons on the page.
Okay, so it provides that auditory support for you. All right, terrific. So as we start wrapping up this session on sentence sets, who is the audience for a sentence set, Nara? Like, what do I use this with all students? K through 3, 5. When is it appropriate to use this?
Okay, I have found that sentence sets are the most supportive and of all the clicker sets, so they are probably best for beginning writers. Think maybe kindergarten through first, early second, and our students with the most severe needs. So maybe our moderate to severe students.
Terrific. And so we've identified kind of this K2 population, early writers that are struggling, are just learning how to write, and then our students are in mod severe programs, K through 12. What do we expect? What kind of outcomes are we hoping to get from using Clicker 7?
I think writing's one of the most complex tasks that we ask of students at school, and so with Clicker 7, we see more time on task. We see students who are engaged for longer periods of time in the writing process. We see more complex writing samples and an excitement about writing that is sometimes has been previously broken.
Terrific. And I really like how we can just differentiate. So some students might use all of the features of Clicker 7, and some students might just use some of the basic word processing, but it gives us the option, depending on where that student is at, to really differentiate and accommodate for their needs. One thing that I want to throw out at the end, which is kind of like the icing on the cake, is the printing option. The students have done all this work. Well, what does it look like when they finish? So if you go to the print button, this is what it might look like. I'm going to pull over a document here, and it's going to pull up, you have your picture, it's going to have your text, and then you have the choice of saying, do you want that word bank to also be printed? And I find this really helpful because I kind of include this then with the writing sample so that I know this is how the student composed that text and found that work. Another idea that we've used in some classrooms with limited computers is maybe 3 kids are using Clicker 7 to write because they need it. It's a center, but you have other students that are fine with handwriting, but they really benefit from that word bank. Some teachers have printed out these word banks and then put them on tables, put them in the student's writing journal, and then the students who are using handwriting can still benefit from that pre-writing, that word bank, some of those ideas that we spent in that whole class writing activity. So I like the printing to highlight the student work, but I also like it as a way to help other students who might not be using the program. Nara, have you seen any other uses of this?
Just as a word bank, as you've been talking about, and also to keep for data collection so that you know the supports that a student was provided with during the writing.
I've worked with many students who just get so proud when they have this piece of paper with this quality writing, these long words. Some of these writers have never seen themselves as successful writers before, and having that tangible piece of paper with their success can, I think, sometimes be a very strong motivator. So I encourage everybody to print out that student work when they've done all that hard work and let them put the sticker on it, put the star, let them take it home and share their successes.